So hello, I'm Muna Husseini. At Indeed, we are guided by a strong mission to help people get jobs. I lead the office of our Chief Technology Officer, where we work every day to create technology and services that connect people with employment opportunities. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge the suffering that many are experiencing right now and affirm that Indeed stands in solidarity with the Black community against historical and present systemic racism, violence, and hate. We are here to support the full community with compassion and continuous work towards social justice and equality. In the words of our CEO, Chris Hyams, economic opportunity, access to jobs, is core to the fight against racism, injustice, and inequity. The more Indeed represents the world around us, the better we are at helping all people get jobs. So today, we're here to share the most up-to-date job search information and resources that we can provide to support you. We want this to be as helpful and relevant as possible for you, so please, let's start with some comments from our audience. What do you want to know about looking for a job right now? And are there any specific topics that you want information on? Our moderators are in the chat. They are ready to answer your questions. And next week, we'll go into more depth on specific topics based on your responses here. So feel free to start leaving those comments. And while you're doing that, let me tell you what we'll cover today. First, I'll discuss some updates on Indeed that make it easier for you to find a job. Then I'll tell you about some employers who are urgently hiring right now and remind you how to find and apply for jobs on Indeed. Next, I'll talk about the current state of the job market before sharing some advice on how to address career gaps when applying to jobs. And finally, we'll wrap up with some questions and success stories from the past week. A quick disclaimer before we get started. The information in this video is for informational purposes only. Indeed is not a career or legal advisor. And just an FYI, you can come back to this video on Facebook if you want to listen to certain parts again, and it'll also be available on YouTube. Great. So let's start by recapping some Indeed updates. We've made a few changes to our website to make finding a job during COVID-19 faster and easier. Now, employers who post a job on Indeed can specify whether that job is fully remote or remote only temporarily due to COVID-19. If you are looking for a remote job, just put the word remote in the what or where box right there on the Indeed homepage. And if you're interested in remote careers, but you're not sure where to start, check out indeed.com/career/work from home. And work from home has dashes in between. You can explore remote careers and salary ranges on this page. On a different note, you may be looking for a job now as quickly as possible. Here are some features that can help you. First, Indeed has an urgently hiring tag. If an employer is looking to bring on new hires right away, they can add this urgently hiring icon to their job postings. If you want to find these jobs, keep an eye out for the red clock near the top of a job posting with the words urgently hiring next to it. Second, you can now signal to employers that you are ready to work immediately in any position. If you'd like to do this, go to your Indeed resume by hitting the person icon on the top right-hand corner and selecting resume. You will see the option to toggle on #ready to work. This allows employers to easily find and contact you about job opportunities where they are looking for someone to start right away. Related to urgently hiring employers, if you or someone you know is looking for a job in Connecticut or in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, check out the links below to register for a virtual hiring event where you can interview with urgently hiring employers in those locations. If you're looking for jobs in a different location, we'll be providing updates about more virtual hiring events in the near future. So keep following and tuning in. So please, tell us in your comments, what else could Indeed do to make finding a job easier? What is your biggest challenge in looking for and applying to jobs online? Before we move away from the topic of urgently hiring employers, I want to make sure everyone knows about our Indeed career guide page that lists these companies that are urgently hiring. It gets updated weekly. We will link it below. Here are a couple of major national employers that recently posted jobs on Indeed. First, we have Apple. Apple is urgently hiring and holding virtual interviews for 3,700 roles in a number of states, including California, New York, Washington, Florida, Illinois, and more. Example positions include customer service representative, outside sales representative, retail sales associate, inside sales, and more. Home Depot is urgently hiring for 26,000 roles in Georgia, Texas, Illinois, New York, California, and more. Example positions include retail sales associate, warehouse associate, stocker, and more. Then we have Addus Healthcare, urgently hiring for 1,700 roles in New York, Illinois, Ohio, New Mexico, Arizona, and more. Example positions include home care aide, certified nursing assistant, state tested nursing assistant, and more. Their apply to hire process takes under 1 week, which means that from the time you apply, it will take less than a week to begin working if it's a fit. For the full list, check out the link below in the description or comments. So again, these live streams are for you. Please let us know in the comments if it's helpful to share these employer updates in these live streams. And second question for you, is there other employer information that would be particularly helpful for us to share? So, moving on to job searching. If you decide you want to apply for a job on Indeed, here's a quick refresher on how you do that. To start searching and applying to jobs, you can create or update your free Indeed profile. That will make it easier to apply for jobs quickly once you find a role that interests you. Next, you can browse jobs by location in the search bar. Once you've identified a potential employer, click the Apply button and follow the instructions from there. And here's a tip. Make sure to tailor your application to the specific jobs you're applying for. Take a really close look at the job description. Research the company. You can go to their website, read what they have to say, or look for recent articles they have about them in the news. You can talk to others who work there if possible, and then use what you've learned to think best about how to position yourself for the role you want to apply for. One more note on applying to jobs before we move on. While you're searching for a job, it's very important to stay safe. Please look out for anyone who asks you to wire money or provide passwords of any kind, or if you receive a check via email from an employer. These are likely scams, and you should report them. We want to know about these posts so that we can remove them from our site and to continue protecting people. If you do need to report a job, click on the suspicious job posting, then scroll down to the bottom of the job post and select Report Job button. Fill out the Report This Job form, and that will generate a report that is sent to us. These reports help us remove spam, fraud, and low-quality postings. Ultimately, it makes Indeed a safer place for everyone. Let's take a step back and look at the economy, COVID-19, and the job market. At Indeed, we have a team of economists that provide insight into what's happening in the job market and economy right now. This week, Indeed economist Daniel Culbertson shares, as many states and cities across the U.S. begin to slowly reopen their economies, we will be keeping a close eye on Indeed job posting data for signs of a rebound in the labor market. According to Indeed data, while job postings in all sectors across the board remain very far below levels from previous years, postings in some sectors, such as driving, beauty and wellness, food preparation, and dental, have started to rebound by trending upward since the beginning of May. Here's what I take from this. The market's still uncertain as we're continuing to measure the long-term impacts of this pandemic. But there is an indication that opportunities are slowly beginning to appear as economies gradually open up. We do want to hear from you, so if you feel comfortable, consider sharing your thoughts on the shifting job market, or how these changes have impacted you in the comments below. If you're interested in learning more about what economist Daniel Culbertson has to say, or what's happening right now in the US and global job markets, a great resource is www.hiringlab.org, which is run by our team of Indeed economists. So this brings us to our next topic, our tip of the week. We've received a lot of questions recently about how to address career gaps and whether COVID-19 has changed the perception of a gap in your work history. So our tip of the week is, if you have career gaps, confidently and positively address them in your interview and on your resume. So we'll break down how to do that for you piece by piece. An employment gap can range in length from a period of several months to a period of several years and can occur voluntarily or involuntarily. If you have a gap in your employment history, the first thing you should know is that you're not alone. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 90% of people have been unemployed at some point in their working lives. Even though career gaps are a common occurrence, it is still important to convey that you've been active in keeping your skills sharp, even while not formally employed. First, let's talk about how you can do this successfully within your resume. So, addressing career gaps on your resume. We'll cover a few ways in which you can format the career gap on your resume to explain the reason for unemployment and positively frame this period of time by detailing the experience you've gained. One thing to keep in mind is that employers are most concerned with evaluating your past 3 to 5 years of work experience. So if the gap occurred more than 6 years ago, you may not need to address it on your resume at all. If you've experienced a recent gap in your employment, here are a few tactics that can redirect the focus on an employment gap to highlight your skills and employability instead. So here's the first tactic. Consider a functional resume. A functional resume format focuses on your skills and achievements rather than presenting your experience from most recent to older jobs. You can include sections like a career summary statement and key accomplishments by grouping competency themes like customer service or project management experience. This format makes your skills and ability become the primary focus of your resume. You can then include an employment section towards the end of your resume. Another suggestion is to list your gap within your work experience section as you would list a professional role. Include the dates of your unemployment and 1 to 2 bullet points summarizing the reason for the gap and what you accomplished during that time. For example, if you took time off to be a full-time parent, you can include full-time parent, Atlanta, Georgia, 2008 to 2011. And you would have bullet point, took time away from professional career to raise young children and manage the household. If you experienced a gap in employment for personal reasons, you can include sabbatical, Austin, Texas, 2009 to 2010, with the bullet point, took time to travel, explore, and be re-inspired to be a successful project manager. Learned patience, creative ways to problem solve, various communication styles, and how to balance being a team player versus a leader. And if you were able to complete any personal projects or coursework during this time, like building a personal website to demonstrate your front end or UX skills, create a personal projects or certification section on your resume that highlights this work and provide links to any examples of work when possible. You can also highlight any volunteer work or personal work done during this time. For example, many parents will volunteer for the PTA to support fundraising efforts. If you're a caregiver for an elderly relative, maybe you're responsible for ordering several medicines or coordinating care providers along with therapy appointments and making multiple calls to insurance to ensure coverage. These are all life skills that are transferable to many roles. They can be highlighted on your resume. You bring a lot to the table. So, in addition to including a reference to the gap in unemployment on your resume, you should also be prepared to talk about it in a way that conveys confidence and positivity without going into a deep level of detail. When asked to address a gap in employment, focus on highlighting what you were able to accomplish during this time. Some example accomplishments you can include are personal development, completed certifications, or articles or books you read that helped you stay on top of what's happening in your industry. Here's a basic template that you can use to share what you've learned. Reason you were not employed, followed by what you did during the gap, and ending with a statement about how excited you are to return to work. Here's an example if you left the workforce to be a caretaker. I spent some time as a primary caretaker in my family. During that time, I was able to be there for my family, but I always knew I wanted to return to work, and I'm ready to do that now. If you took time off for personal reasons, you can say, I was able to take some time off to work on myself. It was time that prepared me to take on new challenges, and I'm incredibly excited about the opportunities that lie ahead, such as this position. Once you've answered the question, steer the conversation back to your excitement and your qualifications for the role as naturally as possible. A great transition is to ask the interviewer, what qualities does a successful person in this role possess? You can then share examples from your work experience of times when you demonstrated these skills and characteristics. There's a great article on the Indeed career guide called How to Explain Employment Gaps in an Interview that includes more examples that we'll link to below. Now, how do you explain a career gap due to COVID-19? Here's an example statement you can use if you were laid off due to COVID-19's impact on your company. My former employer underwent a downsizing due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic that resulted in my position being eliminated. To be honest, it was a difficult time, but I left with confidence that I had developed important skills and built strong relationships with my managers and colleagues. I look forward to the opportunity to apply those experiences in my next job. So in summary, here are things to remember when addressing a career gap in your resume or in an interview. Be prepared to address your career gap without feeling like you have to go into too much detail. Consider using a functional resume format that places the focus on your skills and ability, not on years of continuous service. When answering questions about your career gap in an interview, focus on what you accomplished during that time and convey your excitement to return to work. A basic template for your answer that you can see is starting with the reason you were not employed, followed by what you did during the gap, and end the statement about how excited you are to return to work. Most importantly, remember, you're not alone. With the widespread impact of COVID-19, employers will be seeing an increase of career gaps on resumes. Many employers will likely be understanding about employment gaps due to the pandemic and will not hold this against you when considering you for a position at their company. So next up, I'll answer some questions from last week, but before I do, please let us know in the comments, what questions can we answer for you? Do you want more information on work from home jobs? Is resume advice helpful? What do you want to know and how can we help? Please do let us know. Now, on to questions that we'd like to cover for this week. First up, almost all of my upcoming interviews are supposed to be virtual. I've only ever interviewed in person. How should I prepare for video interviews? Thank you for asking this question. The good news here is that the preparation process will be pretty similar to any other interview. Make sure you research the company, review the job description, practice answers to common questions, and prepare to ask questions about the company and role. However, with video interviews, it's also even more important than usual to read the interview instructions carefully. Ensure that you have any links you'll need to access and the video streaming platform downloaded. If necessary, do this early so that you're prepared. Also, make sure you're in a quiet space with steady Wi-Fi and make sure you're looking straight into the camera rather than at your own image. That way, it feels like you're making eye contact with the interviewer. It's also great to try to do a practice run with friends. Make sure you know how to get set up and ready to go for the actual interview platform. Make sure you have a copy of your resume handy, a place to take notes, and even some notes of what you might want to say handy on stickies. Literally take a look and see how you're showing up. Is there a light behind you that makes you look like you're in the witness protection program? Always have a lollipop with me in case my 4-year-old runs in on any of my calls. I also have my phone here, ready to go with video games in case he comes in and I can send him off quietly to the sofa. Next, I really didn't like my previous job. It was incredibly stressful, and I decided to quit. How should I tell this to an employer? In this case, you can simply say the position was no longer a fit for your professional goals and communicate why you want the new job. There's no need to go into depth about why you left or what you didn't like. Employers don't expect that. Instead, shift the focus on what you learned, the skills you acquired, and how you could see those skills applying to this new role. So last question. I would like to know, what is the best resume style that would be accepted by any recruiters? Ultimately, the best resume format is the one that makes your professional highlights most visible. That could be a chronological resume, or it could be a functional resume, or a mixed format. It's up to you to decide. However, I do recommend 3 specific things. Always follow any directions an employer provides about their preferred format of application materials. Second, when you apply, create a targeted resume. This is a resume that includes the keywords from the job description and industry and highlights your qualifications for the position you're applying for. The goal is for your qualifications to jump off of the page and match what they're looking for. If you're looking for resume templates, check out the resume samples category on indeed.com/career guide. I hope that's helpful. Finally, I'd love to wrap up today with some good news. It can be easy to feel like there aren't any job opportunities out there, but job seekers and employers are connecting every day. And when job seekers get hired, they often choose to share their stories with us. So I'll conclude by sharing a few stories from folks who were recently hired. An Indeed user from Louisville, Kentucky wrote, "If it weren't for the convenient resources Indeed provided, I would have never been aware this opportunity existed." An Indeed user from Richardson, Texas wrote, "Indeed provided the opportunity for me to be visible and provided my resume with simplicity for all employers to view. Thanks, Indeed." And finally, a user from Birmingham, Alabama wrote, "I am thankful for Indeed, and I hopefully will pay you the highest compliment by never needing to use this site ever again. I hope to retire with this company. Thanks for everything you all do." To each of these folks, congratulations, and thank you for sharing your story with us. If you are ever in need of some inspiration during your job search, check out https://gotajob.indeed.com. This page shares up-to-date success stories from Indeed users around the world, and we hope you'll be sharing your story there very soon too. All right, well, that's it for this live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please let us know if this was helpful by commenting below, or you can like this page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you know someone who could use this information, please consider sharing this live stream with them. All of this input that you're providing to us helps us understand what to focus on each week. So add in your comments and questions below. Join us next week for another update. We look forward to seeing you soon. Be safe, be strong. You're not alone, and please take care of yourself. Until next time.